Welcome back to WagerTalk.com. I'm Marco D'Angelo. He's Brian Leonard, and we're going to break down Baltimore, Indianapolis on Sunday. Brian, after starting the season 0-2, the Indianapolis Colts, they've responded with back-to-back blowouts, but the question is, how much do we take from that, because they were against Jacksonville and then Tennessee with a backup quarterback?
Yep, definitely something to consider in this game. My general thoughts on the Colts is a lot of people the last few years have talked about the Colts been winning with mirrors. They just
little smoke with that nose mirror?
Smoke and mirrors, yep. Okay. I forgot what the other part of the but
hey, I'm the yin to your yang.
There you go. Yeah, the smoke and the mirrors. But, you know, I'm really impressed by that quarterback. And Andrew Luck is just a tremendous quarterback. And they've gone through some injuries this year, and they had the suspension on defense. But a lot of people will look at the stats. And we saw this last year with the Houston Texans. A lot of talent on that team, and if you watch them, they would find ways to lose. Indy finds ways to win. Just go back the last few years. They haven't been the most talented teams. They don't outstat the opposition. They find ways to win. And if you're getting a team at home that finds ways to win, that's a team I want to play. It's a short number. And Baltimore, what has Baltimore done this year? The most impressive win is the Thursday night game when they beat Pittsburgh. And we've talked about that. Teams on a short week, and you're the travel team. Now, it didn't work out last week for the Washington Redskins against New York. But this is a situation where the home team on Thursdays has a tremendous edge. Baltimore goes into that game in a must-win situation. I love Baltimore in that game. They played their best game of the season. Now, part of that was, I hate to say it, I don't think Pittsburgh's very good this year. We saw that. We talked about it last week with Tampa Bay. So your best win of the season came in a situation where you know you were going to play an A game. With the line of 3.5, they're basically telling you these teams are pretty even. You take a look at Baltimore on the road, home-road dichotomy's changed a little bit this year. They do have a tight end to go to. They've got a receiver to go to this year. Maybe slightly different, but we've got a lot of times with Flacco, he's been far better at home than on the road.
He has been. You can see, and I think we're going to be on the same side in this game, but just to play devil's advocate with everything, Baltimore crushed a Carolina team last week that was decimated. This team's got a lot of injuries, offensive line problems, and unfortunately for me, I was on it. I was the first bad Sunday I've had this season, and Carolina they were god-awful. There's no way other to put it. And I didn't, and I'm a situational guy, I didn't take as much into the fact of Smith, the wide receiver. He was sky high for going against Carolina. The good news is, as far as Baltimore is, I think Smith is becoming the security blanket for Flacco that in the Super Bowl season Anquan Bolden was when he was there. You've got that veteran go-to guy on third down that you can count on that's going to go up and get the ball for you. So that's a plus for Baltimore, but I agree with you. The schedule that they've played has not been good. The good team that they played in this season was Cincinnati the first week of the season, and although that looks like a 23-16 game, the first half Cincinnati drove up and down the field on Baltimore. They settled for 5 field goals. I had Cincinnati in that game, and I was sitting 15-0 and I'm like, this is ridiculous. Two scores and Baltimore's back in the game. But Baltimore is learning the new offense. I will give them that. They are scoring right now, moving the ball better because, they got the new offensive coordinator, Gary Kubiak, there. So it took some time for Flacco to adjust, but they're going against a team that nobody has stopped. Even though in those first 2 games that Indianapolis lost, they lost on the road to Denver, which was a Sunday night game, the opener, and then had to turn around and come back home and play another primetime game against Philadelphia, an offense that's hard to prepare for.
And keep in mind for Indy, last year they beat Seattle, they beat Denver, they beat San Francisco. If teams can do that, especially, San Francisco was on the road, they were a 10-point underdog. If you can go into these places and win, you find ways to win. And with the number at 3.5, I have no doubt that Indy is going to win this game. The problem is, do I want to lay the 3.5? Will it go down to 3? Do I play the money line? And that's the thought you want to make when you're handicapping these games and betting these games. You're looking for the value. And as we know, the number 3 in the NFL comes up more than any other. You'd hate to lose by half a point, but if you're going to play it that way, that's the way you go. But there's sometimes you can find other ways to do it. A first half bet, similar things to that.
All right, so your play officially?
I'm playing minus the 3.5 on Indy. I think this team is just very underrated. And Baltimore, as I said, I like the additions they have made. The Pitta going out definitely hurts. But at home is the situation for Baltimore. I think they're a much better team at home than on the road. And you mentioned Smith. I mean, that was a huge game for him. A very emotional player. It's a letdown this week.
Letdown on the horizon. All right, Brian says take Indianapolis. I happen to agree with Brian on this one, and I think Indianapolis, we're talking about 3.5 and worrying about that half a point. I'm going to say this right now. Indianapolis wins this week, then people are going to start jumping on the bandwagon because they're there now, but they're saying, well, yeah, but it was Jacksonville and Tennessee. If they beat Baltimore this week, you're not going to get value on Indianapolis for a while. So I think the value is still there at 3.5 this week. Take Indianapolis. We're going to be back. We're going to do another NFL game. We're going to go to a team that's been my nemesis this season. We're going to break down the Dallas Cowboys. They're at home against Houston. That's next. WagerTalk.com.